So good afternoon, all of you, and a very warm welcome to this 39th in the series webinar on a very, very important topic today, that is women empowerment and entrepreneurship. Friends, this webinar, as you know, is being brought to you by Inclusive Human Resource Development Initiative, which is a not-for-profit organization of like-minded friends for bringing about empowerment and enabling of all human resources in the country and throughout. And friends, I am Professor Sanjeev Chadda. I am formerly with Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration. And with your support, this is the 39th in the series webinar that we are going to conduct. Friends, if we talk about women, women have a lot of contribution in the society. And as you know, the society cannot function without both the genders, the males and the females. But somehow, over the years, maybe because anatomy wise or bodily wise, or maybe, the males, they were considered to be more stronger, and they were the ones who were more outgoing, and they were the ones who were given this charge of bringing about or earning. So therefore, they had more of, over a period of time, they got more and more respect and privileges in the society, and dividing the women of the equal kind of respect and equal kind of authority in everything that the society does. So what happened over a period of time was that the women was, restored to the lower of the two sexes, to the lower of the two genders, wherein the work that male does was considered to be much more important. And in view of that, so many, deformities came in the society in terms of so many oppressions which was there in the society, which happened to the women. And if we talk about Indian society, there was sati pratha, there was child marriages, there were other negative connotations wherein women were not involved in anything that the society does. Her voice did not matter at all. So then many social reformers, even from the British and even from the Indian side, they came out and they started voicing against the status of women in the society. So Shri Raja Ram Mohan Roy talked about this. Swami Vivekanand talked about the plight of women. Shri Aurobindo talked about this, and even William Bentinck, the who was British Governor General, he also talked about and took certain measures to improve the plight of the women. Swami Vivekanand said that there is no chance for the welfare of the world unless the condition of women is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on only one wing. So see how it is clear. He equates both the genders with two wings of the society, wherein both wings are required if the bird has to fly higher. One with just one wing, that is with the males, the bird cannot fly high, cannot achieve all the greatness, cannot achieve all the heights, growth, and development with just one wing. So, friends, if we talk about empowerment, if you talk about the traditional plight of the women, we say that generally the women has not been able to get her say and sway in many areas, including the political areas, including the economic area, the social area, the cultural, and even her right as a human being were also not respected. So the when we talk about the both the sexes are generally in numbers they are equal, or rather they should be equal somehow. So in political area, if you go, you see our parliament and if you see our decision makers, you may not find even 10 to 15% of women into the political areas. You will not find 80 to 90% are males. Even in the administrative setup, you will find only 7, 8, 10% females and less all males. In the cultural areas also, you will find that women, they are made to do, they are in the forefront, but somehow they are in the background also, because they are working, they are more important, but they work from the background, and the male takes all the credit. Economic, you will not find women with many economic assets on her name, even if she's working. And socially also, because they do not have the economic power, they do not get the social power also. So all these things are linked to each other. And thereafter, in 1947, when India attained independence, and thereafter, in certain Western world also, wherein there are democracies, the measures started, the movement started of giving the women her rights. So whether it was the right to vote, whether it was the right to wear the clothes that she wants to wear, to have property in her name, to go for a work or a job, and to even stand for elections, even to be in the parliament. If you go by, friends, people like Mrs. Indira Gandhi, people like Sirimao Bandaranaike, she was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Mrs. Indira Gandhi was our Prime Minister, and Margaret Thatcher. These were the ones, who brought about the changes in terms of the women into the political arena. And thereafter, you have many. People like Sania Mirza, people like Saina Nehwal, and even now women cricketers, even sports person, even people like, if you talk about entrepreneurs, Kiran Majumdar Shaw, Indira Nooyi, and at even the world level also, you will find, very, very powerful ladies. Hillary Clinton comes to the mind, then Michelle Obama comes to the mind. They are the ones, though their husbands were in the forefront, but they were equally empowered as such. So things have changed, things have started changing, especially in the democratic world, and as such. And even in India, by the adoption of the Panchayati Raj institutions, wherein it is now mandatory for at least, one third of the seats to be provided to the ladies, and one third of the overall members to be sarpanches as ladies, and even in the municipal council. So things have started changing, and now you have ladies into combat forces also, into the police forces also, even what you term as the belt forces also. So they are there in BSF, in CRPF, paramilitary forces. They are flying pilots. Avni Chaturvedi comes to the mind. So therefore, things have been changing as of now. But majorly, if you go by, the things only change if the economics change. I mean, I can vouch with lot of conviction that the economics brings the social status. So if you just see those areas wherein those the people who were laid down in our societies, like including women, and especially certain groups like scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the backward classes, if you go by with reservation, they have actually benefited. And because of reservations, they have joined the parliament, or they have joined the administrative side into the government jobs. And thereafter, over a period of time, they have attained the economic status, and with economic status, the social status have also come up on them. They have good measures to have their future generation coming into with good money, getting into good scale, good schools, giving them good health benefits and all. And thereafter, over a period of time, their situation has improved. uh, Friends, when we talk about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we know that these are 17 goals, 169 targets, which came in the year 1st January 2016, and will be there for another 15 years. So these goals, one of the very important goal is SDG goal number 5, which talks about gender equality, and says that we need to achieve gender equality and empower women of all countries, empower all women in such. And it has 9 targets, which talks about ending discrimination against women. I mean, you have to just listen to it, each one of them, and see how women were not taken care of. So ending discrimination against women, ending discrimination of all kinds, this is one. Then it says that you need to end violence and exploitation of women. This is the indicator number 2. Third one is to eliminate harmful practices like sati pratha and all. Then it says that you have to value the time and the responsibility and the role undertaken by women, like the role undertaken by housewives. We do not value it as such. Then it talks about providing leadership and decision making participation and platforms to women. It also talks about providing access to universal reproduction rights and health to women. It talks about providing empowerment through technology. So these are the various, SDG goal, under SDG goal number 5. So these are the various targets that need to change. So you just see that these are the areas wherein women have not been taken care of. So whether, it was about, about the, even the body of women is not hers as such. Even she cannot claim to have a right over her own body. So the things, and the technology has made certain things even bad for her or worse for her, that now people go for sex selection. So that is why even in northern India, you will find that the states of Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, the number of males to females, the sex ratio is very skewed. So this is because of the sex selection due to technology available. Then the women or the girl child is not allowed to born. So let's say even if she is born, she is not taken care of, she is undernourished, she is malnourished. Then she does not have any control over her body. Later on, she is married earlier, and she has no say in her reproductive health. She has no say in when she'll have the right to bear a kid. Then she is not safe even in the roads. Her human rights are hampered. You see, there are rapes, there are custodial deaths, there are dowry deaths. There's so many negative things against her. Then there are no assets in her name, being she's economically poor, and she is not represented to the tune she should have been represented in legislatures and other decision making. So these are the various areas, and you can just you can just link it up with the SDG goal number 5, and you will find out that they are actually areas wherein the gap is therein which needs to bridge up. And when we are talking about empowerment, we have to talk about all empowerments. But I think in this 90 to 100-minute session that we have, we today will be focusing ourselves only on one kind of empowerment, and that is the economic empowerment. And economic empowerment, my dear friends, is being brought to you by when the ladies, they have have assets on their sides, when they'll have economic asset which will create wealth. And entrepreneurship is one such area which you have to have risk takers. You have to have people who will be putting their hard-earned money. They'll be creating assets. They'll be creating jobs. They'll be creating. They'll be contributing to the GDP of the country. They'll be creating taxes, and thereafter the country grows with all this. And those ladies, those females, those women who have actually created and contributed a lot to this. Last time also we had two very dynamic entrepreneurs coming up. So this time also we have focused upon two entrepreneurs, Mrs. Anupam Jain and Ma'am Miss Kriti Baveja, who joins us for this talk today. And they'll be focusing on the economic aspect. They'll be focusing on their life and their energy and their journey as entrepreneurs, how this idea came around, what were the challenges they faced, how their challenges were different from the challenges faced by males in the society, how did they overcome these challenges, and what is their vision, mission, and contribution as such. Just to now, introduce the first speaker, Mrs. Anupam Jain. Ma'am Anupam Jain is the founder of MMC Computers Skill Foundation, Chandigarh. This was established in the year 1991. She is also the chairperson of CII IWN Chandigarh. She is also the state president of Haryana Skill Development Council of WICCI, and she also is a chairperson of Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Entrepreneurs, which is an Indian School of Business alumni group from wherein she is an alumnus. And overall, in her journey of 25 years of entrepreneurship, she has promoted a lot of skill development, and due to her contribution, due to her effort, endeavor, she has been able to train more than 40,000 youth, both boys as well as girls, in the area of IT, into the area of retail, computers. And due to her efforts, she has been felicitated by the UNESCO 2000 in the year 2016 during Global Skill Development Meet. She's many a time she has been a panelist on Doordarshan, various panels. I also met her first time on a panel discussion on skill development. And she has been recently nominated as the Bhaskar Business Women of the Year award. So welcome, Anupam ma'am, and it's been great to have you here and meeting you after a long time on this platform. I hope all the participants, they'll be so much enlightened with your presence and with your experience out there. So friends, the second panelist we have is Ms. Kriti Baveja. She is the co-founder of a maternity and nursing fashion brand by the name of momsjoy.com. This is a very niche kind of a brand. We have Flipkarts and Snapchat, Snapdeals. This is a niche kind of a brand which empowers pregnant and breastfeeding mothers. And all the clothes, and very beautifully put up by her while I was discussing with her that, women create life. And and even thereafter, she's not comfortable in her skin because of the clothes are not available. So this idea came to her, and with one of her co-founders, she created this momsjoy.com venture in the year 5 years hence, that means around 2015-16. Otherwise, she's a computer science BTech and also a professional photographer on her own. And prior to starting this entrepreneur venture, she has worked with as an analyst with Accenture and S&P Capital IQ. And she has also got a number of awards. The one being from the Women Economic Forum, Iconic Women Creating a Better World for All. This is one award. Then others she got from the Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development on Entrepreneurship, National Entrepreneurship Award in the year 2018. And the business world conferred on her the another award, India's Hottest Young Entrepreneur. This is another. And to her contribution and to her credit, she has helped and empowered and brought about smiles for more than 50,000 plus mothers because of her clothing range as such. And she has very illustrious, apart from people like you and me, she has very illustrious line of followers, including Sania Mirza, who does not credit, who does not, she is one of the sports icon of this country, and Soha Ali Khan, she is an actress. And her aim is to empower mothers and bring about, and millions of mothers, and bring about smiles on their face. So welcome, Kriti, on this platform, and many thanks to you for accepting our invite to come out here. I hope today the session is going to be very enlightening, and it will be very good for the entrepreneurs. So not taking long now, I request Ma'am Anupam Jain to start off and tell her about her journey, how she came around, and what was her, and I mean, her journey is very interesting. I can vouch for this. So welcome, Anupam ma'am, and the stage is all yours now.
Yeah, namaskar everyone. Good afternoon. My extreme pleasure to be amongst you, and my greetings to all present here. Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Chadda, Director and Head MGSIPA, for inviting me to speak on burning issue of today's times, that is women empowerment. And when we speak on women empowerment, entrepreneurship is the most important segment to discuss, as it brings gender equality and also improves overall status of women in the family and society. So actually there are so many reasons for women needed to be empowered and be financially independent. With the kind of cost of living that the current generation has to put up with, it makes sense that every working age member earns some part of it. And it is important for every individual to be financially independent, especially females. In India, what happens? Mostly all women are efficient homemakers, and their careers take a back seat when they enter motherhood or when the domestic needs overcome their career goals. And what starts as a maternity break for most of the times, it stretches into a break in career itself. Very sad. Here the setback starts. And if husband is the sole bread earner with the wife and kids being dependent on him, situation becomes tough. To meet the rising cost of living, then inflation, as we all know, has risen noticeably in last few decades. To own a decent home, to send your kids to a good school, and to live on above average standard of living. I feel that two income earning households certainly perform better. So women who are financially independent can not only contribute to the everyday expenses of the household, but also help to meet the family's financial goals. I will say married or not married. Actually, every woman needs to be financially independent. Why? Number one, most important, for their self-respect. Financially independent women are capable of taking their own decisions and don't have to depend on anybody. This increases their self-respect and makes them more confident to face any kind of situations in life. And then they tolerate domestic violence or abuse because they are financially dependent on their partners. So therefore, it is extremely important that every woman becomes financially independent so that they never have to feel helpless in life. And then finally, to be a role model, a woman who can support the needs of the family financially, socially, emotionally, and so on, is a role model for her children to show them that gender bias is created by the society and does not mean anything when a woman is strong, confident, and sure of herself. The children learn from what they see. If kids see that their mothers are financially independent, they will also understand the value of money and be inspired to be self sufficient in life when they grow up. So, it is extremely important for all women, be it married, single, separated, widowed, or divorced, to be financially independent and empowered. Today, I feel truly honored to share my struggle, challenges, and sweet successes on this very esteemed platform. Well, having been born with a humble background, my father played a crucial role in my upbringing. My father was an educationist. I grew up seeing him working very hard with honesty and dedication. He educated me about the importance of money, and I started my professional career as a lecturer at Lady Shri Ram College, New Delhi, and later on at DAV College, Ambala City. As every mother wishing the best for daughters, my mother also wanted me to lead a luxurious, struggle free life. So, while I was pursuing my civil services main exams, as destiny plays its own role, I got married to a very influential business family. But the urge to create my own identity and utilize my education after marriage became stronger with that. Fortunately, my husband had full faith in my capabilities and always supported my thoughts. In fact, he felt proud of me always more than me. So, in early 90s, in between I had two children, one daughter and one son. And this was the time when information technology started to take off, and Chandigarh was also getting more and more awareness on information technology. So my husband sensed the need to create IT professionals to cater the huge demand the industry would be needing in the coming years. And he had the confidence in me because of my educational background that I can go ahead with it. So generally people say that every behind every successful man there is a woman, but in my case, or I feel most of the time, generally women don't say, but I'm very proud to admit that behind every successful woman there is a man. He can be your husband, your father, or a teacher, or a friend, whatever. So with the motivation and encouragement of my husband, with the efforts of my husband, I seized the opportunity and started my entrepreneurship journey by setting up an IT education and skill development MMC Computers in 1991 as a sole proprietor. My husband had nothing to do with in this. His role was just to keep motivating me and keep guiding me. That's it. He had his own business, and everything was, left upon him, whether to ruin his saved money or to take it ahead. So this was the thing. So business was at initial stage, and at that time, at that very moment, I was the only one launching IT training center in Chandigarh. But within 1.5 years, because IT training was the most happening thing at that time, computers were coming in, I found that all big brands like Tata, Tulek, Aptech, NIIT, Brilliant Computers, IBM, they have entered my market and become my competitors. This leading to mushrooming growth of IT institutes. And you know, these, when you talk about Tata, Tulek, they don't need any recognition. They are a big brand in themselves. So what was happening that they were charging hefty amount of fees with no recognized certifications, because they always felt they are themselves a recognized brand. And those were the struggling years. I remember, in spite of having all luxuries at home, my husband had invested entire his saving money on establishing this center, and we had a joint family, and he had installed AC everywhere in the institute, but skipped to put in my office cabin because might be short of funds or whatever. So it can be thought over later. So, you know, soon after summers came and I was sitting behind one wall fan at my back. So my husband said one day, he said, "Why don't you go for an AC? Why are you sitting here like this?" But then I said that enough of it. He has already invested so much. So I thought that buying 30,000 spending on AC, I could afford 3 months salary of one staff member, because those were the days I was having running hand to mouth in my business to keep it to sustain it for my staff. So what happened one day? One local official of Department of IT and Communication happened to visit my office, as there were countable IT centers in city, and mine was also in news at that time. So he came and sat in front of me and he asked me, "How is the business?" I said, "Good." He said, "You have good infrastructure, you must be doing very good." I said, "Yes, it is good, but it's like I'm hardly able to sustain my expenses." So he said, "What have you thought?" I said, "I have not thought anything. Could you please guide me how I can make it, how can I grow this?" So he said, "See, Mrs. Jain, there is no magic in the business that I can tell you. It's all that you want people, go for quality, and quantity will follow you. You know, I'm not a kind of a person that I will, listen to somebody's advice and I will start following it kind of. But that day, I don't know what happened. It struck my mind, and I said quality and what all. So, that very moment, I decided to bring value additions to my IT modules, because there were so many private, big MNCs going on. So I thought that why not to apply for government affiliations. So I applied for government affiliations at state and national level. It was long procedure to adhere, because इनकी जो applications होती थी, that used to be 400 pages at one time, and because there were no online application method during those days, and there were no guidance or helpline numbers or anything. So I remember in those days, 400 key applications, attaching the documents. When I used to send to the department, being a government department, they used to take further 1 month, and after 2 months I used to get back that registry back on my table with one rejection or some 1 point improvement or something. And then again we used to send, then again after 2 months it used to come back with some other rejections. And then I used to think why they couldn't tell this rejection earlier, why they are taking so long. But anyways, that was, these are all the challenges one has to face. So with time, by 1994, I became the first and only institute to offer government recognized IT training. I first of all got affiliated with Department of Electronics accreditation of courses. That was O level, A level, and B level. And B level was equivalent to MCA at that time. And I was the only institute in all over Haryana, Punjab, and Chandigarh, other than RCC, Regional Computer Center, to get to offer B level Department of Electronics accredited courses, which were equivalent to MCA. So now this is called as NILIT. So this was a big blow to my competitors, because my certificate values were high and my fees were low. I mean, reasonable as compared to them. And you will not believe that gradually by 1996, I saw all of them quitting one by one, leaving full space for my company to grow. Tata, Tulek, IBM, Brilliant, all closed. Aptech also remained for some time, and then they, anyways. So then onward, I left no chance to adopt new technologies time to time, upgraded my softwares, lab infra, whatever came kept. So I became fully independent in my business within 4 years, and I opened another branch too in Chandigarh. And my targets of beneficiaries were mainly from small income families who focused on getting jobs after my diplomas, which we succeeded to get happened for them, because the government advertisements, they carried the diploma from DOIC Society or NILET or whatsoever. And this was the time my efforts were appreciated in Tri-City, and I started coming in limelight through various media and publications. I still remember that large 4-page coverage in a women magazine, Grah Shobha, in way back in 1997, which was enough to motivate me lifelong, because I used to get so many appreciation on this article. Anyways, in 1996, there was a big transition. This was the time when government decided to create voter ID cards for people. So I launched National Data Processing Center for creating voter ID cards for states of Punjab, Haryana, and Bihar. Actually, there was a tender in newspaper where they invited the quotes from different parties, and I had this big janoon in my mind. You can say कि मुझे ये tender लेना है. And I sat, my opponents sitting on the table were, even Haryana State Government Electronics Corporation, known as Hartron, for which I was franchisee also. So, I wanted to take this tender at any cost. And you know what happens in tender when you want to take it, you just reduce the rates. So, and government, they want to allot to the lowest bidding. So I got these tenders. And when I got the tenders, my God, I was like under so much of pressure that I have got it. What will I do with it? Because the rates at which I have got will hardly cover my expenses. But as you know, in business, the show must go on, and you get something out of it at the end, and that is, and main is the experience you get to handle such a big scale thing. So started with 5 computers. Now my company had expanded to 100 computers under one roof. So earlier my affiliations were from autonomous bodies of government, but I further got my courses affiliated with government universities like MD University Rohtak or Kurukshetra University. I was providing degree courses to them. So things were moving good enough, but in 2011, I analyzed, and what happened that I used to rely upon my accountants and CA to file my returns. But slowly, I started involving myself in reading my balance sheets. And I found that what is this happening? That in 2011, my company's profitability had increased very considerably, but I found that from the past 4 years, I'm stuck at same level. I'm not able to grow further. So what happened that there was an advertisement in newspaper that world's leading financial institution, Goldman Sachs USA, they want to invest on women entrepreneurs by skilling them in entrepreneurship at world's top B schools. And in India, it was collaborated with Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. I found myself so enthusiastic to crack this opportunity, which was 100% scholarship oriented. This was around approximately 32 lakh of scholarship, which were being provided to. It was not like this that I was not able to afford it, but it was like, that happiness to get certified as a woman entrepreneur with such a large body, Goldman Sachs USA, that it made me crazy to go for the round of interviews and group discussions. I had to face 2 times at Delhi and Chandigarh. And finally, in 2012, I was selected by Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, for their Women Entrepreneurship Program. Through this program, we gained practical skills in topics like planning, negotiations, marketing, and employee management, and I got polished by these eminent faculties at ISP campus. And I applied these teachings to our system. and gradually the curve started moving. You know, I we generally say that you should read a book. It's not that the book reading is going to, you know, give you everything you want. It's like that sometimes one single tip from the book you start applying in your life and you succeed. Similarly, in these kind of programs, it's not that they can teach you, you know, they are teaching you so many things and you're coming and applying and your business will grow. No, it's like sometimes some one tip out of that lecture, you know, you carry forward and apply, and then your business start growing. And it's like that, you know, in 2013, P. Chidambaram announced allocation of 1,000 crores in National Skill Certification Scheme. And we adopted this and started scaling youth. Again, I will say it's not easy that he announced the scheme and we adopted this and we started scaling and our business grew. No, there are big challenges in between, in following their norms and getting affiliations and then applying these. But this is how a business entrepreneur has to move on. In business, if you are in business, you have to keep accepting challenges. Then what happened in 2014? I was approached by National Backward Classes Finance Development Corporation. This was under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment to provide IT training to economically backward sections free of cost. And we could enroll 2,000 candidates from underprivileged sections and mainly girls. I received high recommendations from society, from ministry for this work, and all these programs were fully funded by government. So it was fulfilling my inner and outer satisfaction because these young boys and girls from needy poor families were really paying gratitudes, getting skilled and getting employed because all our programs were backed by HR activities. So this was a turning point in my life. I had hardly realized when I found myself turning from an entrepreneur to a social entrepreneur. And later on, because all my these activities were definitely bringing business to my company, but simultaneously they were providing benefits to society. They were adding to the social welfare of these economically below youth, girls and boys. So later on in 2015, Skill India campaign was launched by Modi ji to train over 40 crore people in India by 2022. Again, our company became a training partner under these government initiatives. But in May 2016, I received a telephone from Europe India Foundation for Excellence to participate in Global Skill Development Meet to be held at UNESCO headquarters, Paris. Now you can imagine what my feelings were, you know, hearing the name of UNESCO. We had just, we had spent our childhood in schools reading about UNESCO, learning the full abbreviations, the meaning of UNESCO, and there in social studies book there used to be a picture of UNESCO heritage building. So, you know, I couldn't believe when I went personally in this meet. I represented India as a delegate along with the others from Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and I was recognized for my services there. But standing, you know, in front of that building with the same, you know, heritage building, you know, it was a sense of achievement, you can say. It was a sense of fulfillment that today we are here on a government sponsored program where you don't have to pay anything and you are being treated as a delegate and you are getting full importance. And you know, an interesting thing is that that in these meet, you know, I found that scaling and unemployment is a global problem. Everybody was discussing, all European countries and every. So on that platform, many MOUs were signed because India wanted to be HR capital of the world, and European wanted to take skilled labor from India. So it was like, you know, very nice event. And then I started getting invitations from Doordarshan and my FM radios for spreading awareness on skill, which where I happened to meet Dr. Sanjeev also in one of the Doordarshan show. Anyways, in 2017, I was declared president of ISB Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Alumni Association. So then to empower women, I conducted a workshop on Skill India at ISB campus to connect more women to empower them to be financially independent. So this event, many women were benefited and they were motivated to start and to attach themselves in Skill India campaign. That was a well appreciated event by media also at that time. And by this time, my social entrepreneurship journey had already started. So I joined FICCI Flow, India's largest women organization. And I was honored to be appointed on their board of advisory because I contributed in their joy of giving by skilling young girls in skill courses. Then Cherry Blair Foundation for Women, based at UK, they selected me as mentor in 2018 to support business of women internationally at startup stage. So I was fortunate to be selected as mentor. So I counseled and mentored a lady from Yemen. I helped her regaining business after heavy losses because this lady was an IT engineer and she was, trying to manufacture these uniforms for schools, and there was a recession in Yemen, and she was feeling stuck. So I gave her few advices, and she's still in touch with me. Fortunately, I feel blessed that I could mentor someone. And then I joined Rotary Club. In fact, I was invited by Rotary Club to join in their skilling activities. And then Inner Wheel Club, I was made president of Inner Wheel Club, and I could be platinum president at that time because I could contribute considerably in their skilling activities. Then FICCI Flow awarded me with Best Community Champion Award, and then I received Lifetime Achievement Award in Chandigarh, and also was honored as 51 most influential women of reason. But my work went on. It continued side by side. My company became training partner with state skill development missions under NSDC, because earlier there were so many schemes, but now it was all under states. So I'm proud to say that we are doing the prime as a prime training partner with Chandigarh Skill Development Missions for their skilling activities, and with Haryana Skill Development Missions for their skilling activities. We got the largest numbers of targets to be filled, so expanded to 24 centers now in different states. And in 2019, I was again selected and nominated by Goldman Sachs as ambassador of 10,000 Women Entrepreneur Program in India. This was again a very, very achieved feeling because at staying at ISB campus, getting pampered by them, and the being funded by Goldman Sachs. This is an investment banking institution of USA, and learning from most eminent faculties, because these institutes, they don't compromise on faculties coming from Stanford and coming from IIMs, coming from big B schools. So we had very good time, and you will not believe when we used to spend our lunch hours with professors, because by this time professors, they don't treat you as student, they treat you as colleagues. So if we ever discussed with them our business plan or anything, so at the end they will always say that you are more experienced than us. You know better about your business. So do whatever you want. We have taught you enough. So it's like that. So now I've been doing as a director of vocational services at Rotary Club. I'm trying to do my best for skill development and employment generation. And in 2020, I was appointed as chairperson at CII Indian Women Network. Chandigarh Tri-City due to my contributions in learning and development and my commitment towards this segment. In March 20, COVID happened and I shifted my entire training online mode. In fact, we were the first one. By 27th of March, we had shifted our training online mode so that our students don't have to suffer and we could support our employees, during the setback. So by this time, I also participated in Women Economic Forum where I was present. I gave the skill development talk on skill development and employment generation, where I was awarded Iconic Women of India towards skill development the award. And then I was made president of State Skill Development Mission of Haryana under Vicky. So everything keeps going and the challenges keeps you moving, and the outcomes are very, very, satisfying. I will only say to ladies sitting here, if you too have decided to start something of your own, more power to you. Ahead of you is a mind boggling journey which won't be simple but will be incredibly rewarding. There will be more than few challenges, from getting your idea across to getting funding. It's going to be challenging. It's not like it's any less challenging for men, but as women, you will sometimes be faced with stereotypes where people might not think you have enough financial knowledge or if you have enough technical knowledge. So it is best to garner as much knowledge about all the aspects of your business, especially the technical part, as most businesses are now tech driven. Other people will believe you will not be able to strike a balance between work and family life. I remember when I was, one of the time I went to one of the government office. Generally, I never went to any government offices, but maybe due to some work, I had once gone to meet MD of that. I overheard at my back somebody was saying she is Mrs. Jan and she is doing extremely good in her work. And simultaneously, I also heard somebody saying, "Arey, she's a woman. She has to focus on one thing only. Like if she has started a company, institute, she's focusing on institute. But we as men have to do so many other things also." So that was, I was stunned. I said, somebody can think like that also. I had not even thought ever that this kind of perspective can also be in men's mind. That she's a lady, she has only one thing to do. That is why she's excelling. But as men, they have to do so many other things. But anyways, you learn out of all these, so you try to, come better out of all this. And I will say the only way out of this is sheer hard work and persistence that will thrash stereotypes. And pay attention to hiring. The team that you work with can make or break your business. So you should be very choosy in hiring your staff and always have a mentor by your side. It always works well to have a mentor who you look up to and trust. Can be your husband or a father or a friend or a teacher, whatever. This person will only guide you on the path of success, but also help you steer clear of the mistakes. Play to your strengths. As a woman, you are probably more compassionate. You can understand the needs of female employees to create a loyal and happy team. And employ platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Grow your business there. And finally, entrepreneurship requires you to be agile, on your toes at all times. So be ready to be on top of things day and night. Don't feel that your gender defines you in any way other than making you a force to be reckoned with. I bet it. Entrepreneurship will prove to be a journey worth taking. On personal front, for all ladies over here, I will say, make sure to take care of your health. Spend time and money on maintaining yourself. Learn to be independent. It's perfectly okay not to earn, but it's important to be independent in your thoughts, in your actions. You need to be independent. Learn about investment and taxes. As I said that by 2010, I had left everything on my CAs and my accountants. And when I started reading my balance sheets, I could save so much out of it. So you should learn yourself about investment and taxes. And when you expect equal returns in your business or at your work, you should take equal responsibilities also. It's not okay to play the tag of woman or mother, make excuses कि अरे मुझे तो बच्चे भी संभालने हैं या मैं तो फीमेल हूँ, मेरी कुछ restrictions हैं. I tell you, in work, you are an individual. You are not a woman. I don't remember in my 29 years of journey, I have got any benefit being a woman. I have always seen myself in this competing world, surrounded by all men. Most of the time, I'm the only woman, sometimes 2 women out of 40 men. You can't say that I'm a woman, I should be given extra edge of it. No, you have to be an individual because the challenges are same for men or for women. It's only that as a woman, you 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 have to give priority to your family, to your children. You have to go along with them, and you have to plan your priority like this. Gone are the days when people used to feel shy when a telephone call used to come in office and they are in a meeting. They will simply ignore it. Phone baj raha hai, bajne do. Now the trend has changed. People are now very very family oriented. Even the CEO of a company in a very serious meeting, he will take the call if a call is from family. They will discuss and nobody minds it. So one has to go along with the family, with in-laws. Especially for the women, I will say that you have to take care of your in-laws, your children, and then you come at work. Divide your priorities like this, that nothing suffers, and then you create a good support system, you know and be vigilant, be prepared to handle tough situations, and find time to update yourself. Spend some time doing what you like, even if it is just sitting idle, but be yourself and believe in yourself. If you don't, no one else will. If not now, then when? So just get up, raise your heels, start doing something, feel empowered in your thoughts, in your actions, and you will definitely come out to be an empowered woman. With all this, I end up my story. Wish you all good luck, stay safe, stay masked, and today being Holi, so I would have the opportunity to wishing you all a very, very happy Holi. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for such a very enlightening session on your journey. You've been very candid and been very straightforward about how things went about and the various challenges that you faced. And I think thanks to you for acknowledging the various contribution, especially Mr. Jain's contribution. Generally, the, we say behind every successful man there is a woman, but thanks, you have acknowledged the contribution of men, and I really applaud you for this. Building a good team, and then the Kaizen approach of skilling yourself time and again, and then every day you should be better than the other day. This was your journey altogether. And the business is always like this. You rightly said you need to be agile and taking care, have your eyes and ears open, seeing various opportunities that come up, and never say die spirit. And the best part was that, you know, the very serious competitors and very strong competitors like Aptech and NIT, and I've seen it also here, being a part of Chandigarh, Aptech, NIIT, and Brilliance, they all went away, and Mrs. Jains is still running the show. So that's great, and salutation to you for this. And I think a lot of learning for our panelists. So friends, now not taking much long, I request Kriti Baveja ma'am to take over from here and to share her journey regarding how it was around, how this company came around, and whatever the challenges she faced, and what is her vision and mission about this continuous journey. So welcome, Kriti, and the stage is all yours now. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev. I'd like to share a presentation as well, while telling you a little bit about my journey and how I really started this company. Just a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So hi, I'm Kriti Baveja, and I'm the co-founder of Mom's Joy, which is a nationally awarded maternity and nursing fashion brand. This business really came about because me and my friend, who's a very close friend of mine, actually my childhood school friend, Divya, we actually had a common friend who was expecting, and she wasn't able to really find the right clothes to wear. And that really got us thinking how pregnancy is so underrated and how it deserves so much more importance. In fact, there was a survey that was taken in 2015, which really said that the reason why pregnant mothers and breastfeeding mothers are anxious is A, because of the way they look, and secondly, because of the ease of breastfeeding, which really, hello, sorry, which really, really made us stop and think that creating life is such a beautiful thing, yet expecting and new mothers are facing these problems where they think that, their body type is not really that great, and they're not feeling good about themselves. And also breastfeeding, which is so good for the mother and the baby, they're feeling anxious about that as well. So we really went ahead and did a survey for more than 200 expecting and pregnant mothers, and found out that they were not really there were no products in the market where they would feel that they're comfortable. At the same time, those products were not even fashionable and functional. So Mom's Joy was built out of that thought process, where we thought that we needed to make a change and we need to solve this problem of expecting and new mothers. And that is where we, both being computer science engineers, actually we decided to really take a halt, and we took a plunge, and both of us left like our lucrative jobs. We put in our own savings into building this company, and we decided that we're really going to work towards creating a company which creates fashionable, functional, and comfortable clothes that fit during and post pregnancy and have easy nursing access as well for effortless breastfeeding. Our vision and our aim of building Mom's Joy was to genuinely have mothers feel confident, empowered, and happy each time that they wear our products, and for them to really not have breastfeeding anxiety or appearance anxiety, or feel that they don't have enough options in the market. So Mom's Joy, like I said, has a mission to empower new and expecting mothers and make them really feel beautiful, confident, and happy. We are able to resolve these problems that expecting and new mothers were facing. Firstly, like appearance anxiety. So we created products which were innovative, which were fashionable, and they were also comfortable, and they flattered expecting mothers during and post pregnancy. For breastfeeding anxiety, what we did, of course, was to include easy nursing accesses, which were either like concealed zips or buttons. And the problem where they felt that, buying a particular product which would fit them during pregnancy, it will not be useful to them post pregnancy. So what we did was we created products which fit during the 9 months and post the 9 months. So they flattered that body type throughout. Also, each of our products is created with high quality breathable fabric. So like you can see, we have easy nursing access where we have concealed zips, innovative designs which are beautiful and are fashionable and functional. These products fit and flatter during and post pregnancy. And the biggest thing that we're very, very proud of is that we have our own in-house manufacturing unit. We're a completely made in India brand. And we did this absolutely from scratch. So our journey was such that we iteratively kept building our brand and kept building our unit as well. So we started with 2 employees, and we started with in 2015 when we came about with this idea. We thought that we'll come out with these beautiful designs, and we came out with a series of designs that both me and my co-founder absolutely did not like. Now, there could have been, this is what I say, that each mistake that you make becomes like a stepping stone for your success. And at that point, we were so disheartened. We thought that what have we come out with? It's not really like our vision is not panning out. And being computer science engineers with no knowledge absolutely about how to really build a business, secondly, how to start our own manufacturing unit, it was pretty tough. But I think both of us, me and my co-founder Divya, we had a vision that the only thing that really would stop us would be the way we're thinking about the problem we're facing. So we really challenged our thoughts, and we thought that we are not confined by anything at all, and we went ahead with it, and we did not get disheartened, and we were like, no, we will come out with a better collection, a better designs, and what exactly our vision is. And lo and behold, we did. And a couple of years later, in fact, actually the next year itself, we were awarded the best maternity wear brand in India award. So I always feel that, people sometimes feel afraid of actually taking that plunge. And there's a quote that I really like, which says that, what if I fall? But the answer is, what if you fly? And I've added a little thing to it which says that, even if you fall, you are making a mistake and you'll go ahead and learn. So it's always important to remember that whenever you're starting your own business, to not feel afraid of making mistakes and learning from them and growing forward. And we've seen that firsthand while building our business. Like I said, all our products are made with breathable fabric, and they're very comfortable for the mother and the baby. And we're now, we started with shipping pan-India. But a year later, we started getting requests for international shipping, and now we ship worldwide and have shipped to several countries. Also, another thing that we always kept in mind was to have a business which was absolutely sustainable. Now, sustainability, not in terms of only being financially sustainable, but also having sustainability while thinking about the environment. So each of our products that are made on the front end, if someone goes to our website, we have sizes. But on the back end, whenever we're getting an order, the product is actually being created once we get the order. So we never had dead inventory, and that has always been our model, to have no fabric wastage. So in case we have any fabrics which are, which do not work well, let's say, in our collection, we go ahead and make something else in it, hence helping us to not have any dead inventory. Or we'll end up even utilizing smaller pieces to make bags or to make other products, which would actually help us in not in helping the environment. So that is also something that we work on consistently. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention was that we have, historically, people would always think that in a manufacturing unit, especially masters, so the master is the person who is actually cutting the product, cutting the patterns, and giving out the cutting of the fabric to the tailors. Historically and traditionally, one would assume and expect that the master is always a man. But in our manufacturing unit, we had women who were actually finishers, who showed a keen interest in wanting to learn the skill. to actually do pattern making. So definitely both of us being women entrepreneurs and believing in giving equal opportunities to both men and women, we said that, go ahead, please go ahead and learn pattern making in the extra hours after office. And lo and behold, we are very proud that after 2 years, she's a top master within our organization. And it is really lovely to see, because traditionally only men were usually taught this skill. So both of us is a little bit about both of us. Me and Divya, like I said, both being computer science engineers. Divya is also like a computer science engineer. She is a TEDx speaker as well. She's done her engineering from the masters. She's done her masters in management from Imperial College, and she was also awarded the top 50 most influential e-commerce professionals by Asia Retail Congress. And me, on the other hand, again, a computer science engineer, a self-taught professional photographer. So all the initially, like I said, both of us did everything by ourselves. So whether it was funding for our organization, or whether it was actually designing the products, whether it was the photography that someone would actually go ahead and see on our website, like our initially everything from A to Z. So that is what I always say, that Divya and I both were, when we call each other CEOs, we were like chief everything officers. And that is what you have to do when you start your own business. You have to do everything from being a customer care to an operations head to a photographer. You have to do everything from A to Z, because you want to achieve maximum using minimum resources. And we really did that. We bootstrapped our entire business completely. And we've absolutely been sustainable and profitable, just using our savings, and been cash rich as well. So it is a very important thing to remember, to not want to immediately, when you're getting into starting a business, instead of wanting to hire people, also understanding what you're hiring those people for, and getting into the skin of your business is very, very important. For example, when I was like the customer care for a good 1.5 years initially of my business, I actually understood what problems customers were facing, what were the issues they faced, how to deal with them. And that is what I eventually landed up training and teaching the customer care that we landed up hiring later on. So that is what it takes actually to be an entrepreneur, where you have to do everything by yourself. And slowly and steadily, iteratively, once you start building your business, you start hiring people who are a good fit for your organization. Also, I worked for 4 years, like Dr. Sanjeev also mentioned, as an engineer and analyst in Accenture and S&P Capital IQ. Now, someone would say that, you're a computer science engineer. How did you land up switching to becoming fashion entrepreneurs with no experience? But I think it is all in your head. We all have the ability to do what we seek out to do if we have hard work and perseverance and passion. And also, we both felt that we really wanted to make a change, and we wanted to make a difference in the lives of expecting and new mothers. And when you have a goal which is linked to wanting to make a change in the society, and making people and making people happy and adding value to their lives, everything else follows after that. So very important to have that vision, and always very important to remember why you started what you started. So Moms Joy now not only has maternity products, but it also we've launched baby products and kids wear, which are an extension to our business. And we have several maternity products. So I like to actually open our website and show you a little bit of what we've built over time. So we have maternity products, like I mentioned, nursing wear products, which have easy nursing access. We have new mom essentials, where we have diaper bags and feeding stoles. We have baby and kid category products, where we have baby swaddles, baby towels, washcloths, etc. All being a natural extension to our products, which initially we created, which was maternity and nursing wear. So for all the work that we've done, I'd also want to mention like the growth and the reach that we've had. In terms of growth, we've grown from 2 employees to now 25 employees, which feels really, really great because we're completely Make in India brand, and our mission, like I said, was not only is not only to actually empower expecting and new mothers, but also to empower our employees who are the real backbone, and to provide equal opportunities, whether it is a man or a woman, but to provide equal opportunities to both. We have a very open door policy where we believe that whether it's a tailor, a finisher, our master, everyone is absolutely equal. They come up to us, they tell us suggestions as well. So we maintain that status quo where we do not have any status quo, to be honest. We have that sort of openness, which actually helps in building the business, because we are open to listening to what problems they are facing as well, and resolving them timely. So that is one. Secondly, we initially started with delivering our products pan India via our website, but now we're delivering internationally, and we're getting a very, very good response. We've made more than 50,000 plus expecting and new mothers happy till date within a span of 5 years. And those have included big celebrities as well, like Sania Mirza, Soha Ali Khan. Apart from that, we have an Instagram following of more than 70,000 expecting and new mothers, and a Facebook following also of the same. So we reach out to more than 500,000 mothers month on month through social media itself. For our work at Mom's Joy, we've been awarded the National Entrepreneurship Award 2018 in the textile category. We were very, very proud of that. We were also awarded a prize money of 5 lakhs. Now, being given that money from the government was a huge achievement to us. It really was a big boost, where we felt that we were definitely doing something right. We're making a change in the lives of expecting mothers and new mothers, and also the employees that we've hired. We were also awarded the Best Maternity Wear Brand Award in 2019, 18, 17, and 16, and the Business World's Hottest Young Entrepreneur Award, where we were featured on the cover. Divya was awarded the top 50 most influential e-commerce professionals, and I've been awarded the Iconic Women Creating a Better World for All. We've been invited by Airtel and Google to share our stories, and we've also been featured in various publications like Hindustan Times, Vogue, Your Story, Times of India, Business World, Entrepreneurship Magazine, etc. But I always feel like our biggest achievement has been to actually make a change in the lives of expecting and new mothers. And whether it's been celebrities or whether it's been umpteen customers who've been really happy with us, like going back and reading and actually seeing when they come back and they say that, I want to really read like a customer's review where mine and it also says that I had never bought separate nursing clothes and was following the 2 t-shirt method until I found Mom's Joy. Absolutely love their collection, super comfortable nursing wear that looks nothing like it. So just just reading these reviews and these wonderful compliments by expecting mothers and new mothers, where they felt really confident in their skin because of the products that we've come out with, is the biggest achievement that we've got till date. And it really, we feel very, very happy when we go ahead and see these reviews. So Mom's Joy, just wanted to add that, of course, Mom's Joy is we've always been working to empower millions of mothers, and our sole aim has been to make a huge impact in changing the mindset of expecting mothers, and encouraging them to flaunt their bump and own their confidence. So that was about my journey as an entrepreneur till date, where we've faced challenges, but we've really gotten through them. Also during COVID, definitely initially we did face a challenge because everything came to a halt. Our manufacturing unit, of course, was absolutely closed for a month or so. But because we built a business where we had the vision, we wanted it to be absolutely sustainable. We were able to ensure that our employees were getting their salaries on time. After a month or so, we got permission from the government because our products are nursing friendly and feeding friendly. We were given the permission from the government to go ahead and come in the category of being essential products, and we were able to jet start our business. And really, like, expecting a new mothers was so happy because they were unable to. People think that, what's the big deal? It's just clothes for pregnancy. But we have to understand that the mother is going through so many changes where their size also changes, right? You're not able to find those products in the market. You don't have products which are feeding friendly. What do they wear? कहते हैं ना, roti, kapda, makan are the three most important things. So kapde for pregnant mothers are also equally important. It is definitely like an essential service, which we think that is not. But I was so happy that the government was able to actually give us that go ahead and said that, this will come under the essential category and go ahead and start your manufacturing unit. And of course, being online was a big boost for us during COVID. Since the start, we've been on our own website, which again we started from scratch, and we've done everything by ourselves and come here and built it to what it is today. Yeah. So Dr. Sanjeev, if there are any questions,
okay. Yeah. Thank you, Kriti, for such a candid and coming straight from the heart journey you talked about, and it's a very inspiring journey, I must tell you, because generally, professionals they play a very safe game because the parents as well as the society members, once you get a professional degree, they would like you to get into that, and if you are placed in a company such as an Accenture or TCS or Wipro, they would not like you to take the plunge.
Absolutely. And to be very honest, even my parents, or whether it was my co-founders' parents, both were hesitant slightly, where they said, you're earning well enough, you're financially independent, you've got a job, then why do you really want to do this? But it was something that both of us felt that nobody in 2015 especially, nobody was really doing it, and we were like, who else is going to do it? It better be us. And we really wanted to go ahead and take that plunge, and our family has been so supportive. Like, nothing can happen without family, for sure, whether it's been her family or my family. Been so supportive and very happy each time we achieved something. They were so happy about it, and they got also more confidence in us. So that, of course, has been, there was a hesitance when I went ahead and I actually said that, I'm putting in my papers. My parents used to think for 3 months I was telling that, I'm going to start this. I hope you're mentally prepared. They really didn't believe, because they were like, okay, haan, theek hai, kar legi, shayad, doesn't matter. But then the day I gave them a call from office, I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm putting my papers. My mom was like, what? Really? When did you tell us this? So this is something that happens a lot of times with many entrepreneurs, and being a woman, man, that doesn't matter. But with just starting the entrepreneurial journey, when you have something safe behind you, is obviously a big step to take. I think initially both me and Divya, we really got into it thinking that we'll be able to do it. We never felt that this is not something that we're not going to be able to do. Acha, ye to difficult hai, humne to kabhi kiya nahi. That comes from our upbringing also, from our schooling also, where we were not, which we're very proud and very happy, because a lot of women, men, especially women, are not given that push where they said, "Acha, theek hai, ab to iski shaadi ho jayegi." It is such a common thing for a lot of families, and a lot of families for parents to also say कि ठीक है, अब तो शादी हो जाएगी, क्या मतलब करना है, क्यों पढ़ना है. But definitely my parents and her parents were very, very encouraging in this, and we really owe it to them. And my now husband actually also helped in our initial stages, and even Divya's husband during that time helped a lot. So it's always like a team when you're starting your business and reaching somewhere. It's definitely they say, right, like it takes a village to have a baby grow up, right? Like this is also a baby, so it takes a village to actually to build your business, which is like having a baby, to be very honest, having another baby of your own. So definitely that is there, what you're saying.
Yeah, very true. And I think we have a few queries. One query was posed by Dr. Saibi. Dr. Saibi, would you like to ask in person, or shall I do it for you? Dr. Saibi, are you there? Okay, maybe I think.
We can't hear you, Dr. Sanjeev.
So Dr. Saibi has a query. He says, what is your clear message to the younger generation in this era of recession, especially during COVID times? He says many of the youngsters working, especially in industries like hotel management and service industries, have lost their job. What could be the risk factor? Kriti ma'am, would you like to answer this query? COVID and the services sector especially has hit around, especially for the tourism industry as such has been hit.
Right, 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 right.
I request others to please kindly mute yourself while the panelists answer this query. Then we can come forward to Dr. Sharma and even Talwar.
Right. Definitely, COVID has had a huge effect on the service industry, whether it's hotel management, even services like even photographers for that matter. Any industry where you have a lot of people coming in have faced that problem. I think a doctor's question was also she mentioned that what is our clear message to the younger generation? See, everything all said and done, this is something that everyone is facing. COVID is something which is impacting everyone's lives. Definitely a difficult time, but we will get through it. At the same time, in order to go for entrepreneurship, it is a great time to go for entrepreneurship because things are coming online more than before. Like amount, I mean, I'm sure people who weren't using Amazon to order their grocery items have gotten into the habit of using an Amazon or of going online and purchasing their essential items or really purchasing things which are of use to them. So going in for entrepreneurship would be great. Also understanding that going in for entrepreneurship where you can work from home, maybe something which is in the sphere of e-commerce or online, where you can actually, because a lot of things, like I said, because of COVID have been affected. There are not as many opportunities available currently. But thinking of what problems people are facing during COVID and finding a solution for that, that would be something that the younger generation in this era could look at. But please understand, like I'm sure everyone knows that COVID is going to come to an end. People are getting vaccinated. Things are going to become better. Definitely wearing masks and having the right sort of safety protocols. We are all going to get through.
डॉक्टर साहब कोई प्रॉब्लम है क्या?
What happened? Sharma ji, she's answering, and thereafter I'll come to you. Yeah, Anupam Jain, ma'am, would you like to supplement what Kriti ma'am was saying?
Yes,
Dr. Saab?
definitely. Hello.
Yeah, Sharma ji, kindly mute yourself. I'll come back to you. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, definitely this is a time to go for entrepreneurship. But simultaneously, I will suggest to this younger generation, we all have seen that during COVID-19, we always promote multi-skills. Like, Divya and Kriti, I am hearing from them that they were computer engineer and they shifted themselves. They were more successful as they could fulfill their passion as when they came to enter retail sector. So I always emphasize on youngsters to have multi skills, and COVID was the time when there were so many online skilling courses were available. Even Harvard was providing free course at that time. So youngsters, they need to upgrade themselves. They could go in right direction. They could go for learning digital marketing because everything is coming online. So they could have learned digital marketing. If somebody, they are particularly asked for hotel management. If somebody has culinary skills, they can utilize for online food orders. They can prepare. They can start a online restaurant. So this is the time that they have to think about online. They don't need to keep their inventory. They don't have to spend so much on inventory, as Kriti has said. She's been already doing that. So youngsters have to adopt new skills, follow their passion, keep upgrade themselves, and this is right time to go for entrepreneurship online.
Very true. Very nice. Rather, what you have talked about is there are certain opportunities which are there in threats also. And the businessman or women, businesswomen, they have to keep their eyes and ears open to sniff and to see various opportunities which are therein, and to create opportunities out of the various threats, because times will be changing as such, and that is the only constant. So thank you so much for answering this. There's another question by Dr. Muhammad Suleiman. He says, what were your challenges? That is question number 1. And secondly, did you approach any bank for loans? And if yes, then what were your experience dealing with banks for the various loans? Kriti, you may start, and then ma'am can supplement.
Sure. So the challenges that we faced, of course, one was definitely being computer science engineers, like I mentioned in my talk as well, and getting into fashion entrepreneurship. So the upgradation of Mrs. Anupam Jain also says that, the upgradation of skills, right? That was a challenge initially, but definitely like a stepping stone for our success. So that was one challenge. The other was convincing our parents 5 years back that we wanted to really start our own business. That was one that we faced. Apart from that, challenges are multiple, especially starting our own manufacturing unit, employing the right kind of people in our team. It is not always that you'll end up employing someone which is good for the company. Also having the courage and the ability to be able to replace people who are not really good or adding value to the company. Also understanding that it was also a great challenge to learn all the skills related to fashion entrepreneurship for us. So these were the challenges that we faced initially during our initial years. And as far as whether we approached any bank for loans, so both, like I said, both me and Divya, we put in our own savings into this completely. We had like a set amount of money that we were sure that this was the amount it needed. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but there was a set amount of money, and we had a vision where we are going to put this in with no questions asked. And this is something we are doing for ourselves, and this is something that we're doing to create value. And we will see how it goes. And then we will take a call whether we wanted the loans. Luckily, and with our hard work and perseverance, we did not need any loans. We are very self-sufficient. We are able to sustain. We are able to have a business which is completely bootstrapped till date and growing year on year. But that was like the experience that we had in our initial years.
Right. Thank you, Kriti. Anupam ma'am, would you like to supplement and add upon your experience in terms of dealing with banks and certain challenges that you faced?
Well, in my case too, I had a set amount of investment in the beginning, and I tried to follow my actions and plan to go ahead with that seed money only, and could multiply with God's grace. Definitely in initial days when I had entered this business, I actually was in a joint family, and ours was a very orthodox and very influential business family of Chandigarh, where no woman had stepped out of home. I didn't know even driving. I didn't know anything, but as I told, my husband had full faith on me. But why he had this faith? Because of my education. So first thing I will say that when we talk about women empowerment, give them education. This is the first thing everybody should do, right? So because of my education background, so he had faith in me, and I was made to sit. So my big challenge was to keep a support system with my in-laws, and take care of my children. I had 2 kids at that time who were totally dependent on me for studying. My daughter never worked did her homework till the mama will come and will do it. So all these things that women have to, so it's all that you have to keep priority of things in your life, and slowly you go ahead. So that's it.
Right. Thank you so much. And Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, I mean, these two entrepreneurs are self-sustainable. Rather, Mrs. Jain, she can lend to banks. That's how things are, rather than taking anything
Thank you.
from banks.
Yes,
they have not.
Somewhat they have acted from the bitter experience, sir.
I tell
They
you,
are
Dr.
privileged. That is
So,
why they are
Dr.
getting support from
Suleiman,
their family.
Dr. Suleiman, as I promised to you in the last session, on 11th
Yes,
April,
sir.
we are going to have on financing by banks, how they finance.
Sure,
And
sure.
I have already requested two of my friends who are very eminent and professional bankers to come up on the
Yes, sir.
panel on 11th April. So
Sure,
I think
sure.
all of your queries regarding banks and financing will be solved
Sure,
out.
sure, sir.
Ji,
Definitely.
thank you so much for your
Sure,
very and
sir.
wonderful. Now I request
Sure.
Mr. JPS Talwar, who is also there. JPS, you wanted to ask something, or you wanted to add something with your? He is an eminent banker in the Bank of Baroda.
I want to do supplement supplement the thoughts and the talks of the eminent that is a panelist. My area of concern focus is banking only. Just now, Mr. Solomani, Dr. Solomani has raised the question. What about the banking and challenge? One myth I request all of you to throw out of your mind that in banks the everything is taken in Indian financial system. Bribing is a part. In Indian financial system, bribing is not a part. It's basically it has become our habit to give bribe and get the work done. Right? It has become our habit. Whenever a traffic policeman stops you at the red light, instead of showing him a document, you prefer to give him some bribe. So this has become our habit to throw money and move sail ahead. Right? In banking system, there are many facilities for especially for the women entrepreneurs like Stand Up India, Startup India. In this, the bankers are given challenge. Every branch has to sanction minimum 5 loan under this scheme, Startup India. That is the limit starts from rupees 10 lakhs goes up to 1 crore. So banks are not getting good business proposals from women entrepreneurs to fund it. And government of India and all district level committees, they are regularly pushing banks to lend, and they have to cut the soil figure in that meeting, even not only at branch level but at a corporate level also. Point number one. Point number two, regarding funding and regarding bribing. In Indian public sector banking system, bribing is not part of the system. It's in the mind of an entrepreneur that he has to give money and get his money. Even though systems are such that now these days the system is that is not the single person is not involved in sanctioning and the other things. There is a chain of people that are involved. So when you're meeting a desk officer, he is not a sanctioning authority. He is only a communicating authority. Now it's up to you how to assess the banker. Not only the banker is assessing the entrepreneurs, it's a responsibility of the entrepreneur also to assess the banker whether he is able to get the loan sanction from sanctioning authority. Sometimes the desk officer is not capable or not competent enough to process the loan because of his inexperience and because of lack of exposure. This difference between experience and exposure. By virtue of my age, my experience may increase, but virtue of age, my exposure does not increase. My exposure only increase when I am encountered with this situation. Like both of the panelists has encountered a situation, and because of their dareness and because of their courage, they step out and start their own venture. So experience and exposure, they are different things. To run a business, it need a exposure, right? Experience can be you attain from the life, from the passage of age, but exposure, what you draw out of each and every business and interaction, from each and every customer dealing, that is entirely different. So, at third point, in Indian society, in Indian culture, since from the childhood, we teach a person, we put that is in the brain of a child, बेटा पढ़ लो तुम्हें नौकरी नहीं मिलेगी पढ़ोगे नहीं तो नौकरी नहीं मिलेगी. This is the basic, that is the thoughts which we put in the mind of a child. So child start thinking that from childhood, that when he grow up after education he has to go for the search of the job. So this is absolutely a wrong input which we are giving to the children. Right? Instead, we have to give you have to do the business. Now you have to study hard so that you can bring up some new idea, innovative idea for this world, and you become your product become a monopoly product. So in that way, if we teach us, if we give the inputs to our kids, whether it's a boy or a girl, it's a material. So we have to give a right input at right age. So this is my submission, Sanjeev. All dice with you, sir.
Right. Thank you, Talwarji, for very informative and, as a banker, you've been dealing day in, day out in terms of development of industry. So thank you so much. And even to both of the entrepreneurs, if you want a loan tomorrow, I can share Mr. Talwar's number. He is the chief manager and based at Delhi also now. And very straightforward and, very forthcoming to help all entrepreneurs.
Dr. Sanjeev, just wanted to add, since there might be women entrepreneurs that would be seeing this session. Of course, in my case and ma'am's case, we both funded by our own savings. For example, I put in the amount of money that I'd earned throughout Accenture and S&P Capital IQ. In a blink of an eye, I put the entire amount. But there's not everyone is starting at that point, or not everyone is earning at that point when they come out with this. Government definitely has like a lot of business loan policies, which we were also made aware of, especially when we won the National Entrepreneurship Award. We were made aware of these particular policies and business loans. There is like a Sri Shakti package for women entrepreneurs in India. There's a loan under the Annapurna scheme. There are several such loans specifically for women as well. So anyone looking for that should definitely go ahead and have a look at these things which have been provided by the government. That can definitely give you a boost in terms of finances for your business. So that is something I wanted to just add.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want to add, Sanjeev ji, I want to add one more thing. Recently,
Please.
From the Indian financial systems under the direction of the Ministry of Defense, not Defense, Finance Ministry, Project Prerna has been launched by the financial system. Under this Project Prerna, the banks not only extend the helping hand to the entrepreneurs about to run the business, but to how to do the accounting, how to interact with the banker, and what banks are basically looking in the balance sheet, and how to get the balance sheet improved, so that whenever the entrepreneur is approaching the banks for the enhancements and for the managing the business, so that this additional there is a helping hand has been extended by the banks.
Thank you, Talwarji, for sharing this information. I think this will be very useful for our budding entrepreneurs and those who are already on the board. So I think last word, Dr. S.K. Sharma, would you like to add something, and or thereafter I'll sum it up, and then Dr. Sharma? Yeah, Dr. Sharma, would you like to add? Yeah, you're not audible, Dr. Sharma. So I think some issue with his audio, but no issue. Dr. Sharma was with us. Dr. Sharma, am I audible to you? Would you like to add something? No. So I think some issue. So friends, we have come to an end of this very, very wonderful webinar. And just to sum it up, from these two very eminent panelists and their journeys of entrepreneurship. See, basically, it is an idea. It is always an idea, whether it was Bill Gates, or it was Narayana Murthy, or nearer home, it was Chima Boilers, or it was Amartex, or it was Ma'am Anupam Jain, or Ma'am Kriti. It is always an idea, but an idea whose time has come. So we need to see when this time has come and how to go about that idea. The technology is available, and how you use that technology to grow with an idea. There's always a synergistic force with you. We need to follow our passion, whatever we need to, we think whatever we can do best, wherein our passion is therein, that is an area which we should go on. There's always a risk taking in terms of, starting up an entrepreneurship venture. The risk is always there. But then the whole life is full of risks. Like Kriti very vociferously voted that even if you fall, you have something to bank upon in the future. So but you need to take a calculated risk. You first need to go in shallow waters. You need to test your waters before jumping into it. And the professional degree and a good education as such provides you that kind of buffer, that kinds of insurance, that even if you don't do so well, I will not say, I think nothing is failure. Maybe you do not get the desired success, you can always come back to it. You as an entrepreneur, you should keep on studying the needs. And I repeat in what I was told by one of the very famous entrepreneurs, that opportunities for entrepreneurs are nothing but to satisfy the needs of the society. And this was very, very, rightly put up by both the panelists. Anupam ma'am also, that point of a time, skilling was the need, and with Kirti, to see the market and see that for the newcomers, for the expecting mothers, the kind of clothing was not there. So there was a need. They studied the need, and this was an opportunity for them. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open. Then for a business to grow, you need to have great teams, and your team should comprise of giants and not dwarfs. That means, I said in my last webinar also, that for a good successful entrepreneur, you should hire people who are better than you, because it is not a matter of ego. The industry and the company will only go up if you have giants and not the dwarfs. Then the communication channels should always be open. This was very rightly put up by both Kriti and Anupama ma'am, that any point of time, any of the worker, any of the employee can come to you, any of your team member can come to you, you can discuss as such. This is very, very very important. Then you should have a lot of control over your finances, because
ये तो हम जाना है खुदा
wasted, 1 rupee wasted is 1 rupee earned,
आहो
1 rupee saved is 1 rupee earned. So it is very important that you should have a lot of control over finances. Then one more thing, that challenges are always there, it will always
ठीक है
be there. And especially with COVID times, the one thing that comes to
फिर बंदा लाइए तो इसी
tough situations
ਇਹਦਾ
do
ਕਮਰਾ
not
ਵੀ
last.
ਸਾਫ਼ ਕਰਾਣੇ ਵਾਲਾ
Dr. Sharma, can you please mute yourself? Tough situations do not last, but tough people do. So this is what has been shown, that tough situations do come up, but then even in the tough situation, there are opportunities which are available. You need to keep on upgrading yourself, as both the panelists have been upgrading ourselves. And Japanese management term it as the Kaizen approach. Every time you do, every day, every hour, you are better than what you were earlier were, and convert all the challenges, all the threats into opportunities. So I think these were the various lessons learned. And then as rightly said by both the panelists, that with women, every entrepreneur faced the same kind of journeys, but with women, the journey becomes a little more tougher, because of the stereotypes, because of the ethnocentricities that are involved in the societies, that somebody can do this, somebody cannot do this. But whosoever has come up trump, whether in the political circle or in the economic circle or in the social circle, people like Medha Patikar, people like Professor Pam Rajput or Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, or even Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and today, in today's time, even Nirmala Sitharaman, who's the first women finance minister of this country. I mean, everybody has to face challenges as such, but then only one who comes up and faces the challenges in the right earnest and treat these challenges as a stepping stone towards success, only they'll be able to succeed. So again, I would like to thank the two panelists, Ma'am Anupam Jain, Ms. Kriti Baveja, to have spared their times on this Sunday afternoon. And then this was a holiday. Today is Holi also. To come up, and I'll thank the lovely participants who join us day in, day out, and contribute also, not only join, but they contribute also in terms of what topic should be there. And it's a free flow, open communication channel. They give their choices, they give their voices, and then they also lend us to do. And this has happened with their support only. The 40 weeks have passed on, I don't think. And again, this was a threat while COVID was there, and we started off one Sunday afternoon on one issue, that was impact of COVID on Indian economy. And I never had this in mind, that it will go on for the 40 weeks. And we have been still covered, another 3-4 weeks have been booked as of now. So I think with your support, we can go on. And I feel good that IHRDI, the name that we created, Inclusive Human Resource Development Initiative, has been able to take the plunge to see this opportunity and to bring about people from diverse backgrounds onto this channel, wherein we have been sharing a lot of information and helping to collaborate and to associate with people. I also thank the IHRDI team comprising of Sanya, Dr. S.K. Sharma, Dr. G.R. Saibi, Mr. J.P.S. Talwar, Dr. Manoj Teotia, who come up, Professor Jeet Kumar Gupta, who help us in research and coming about various topics, help us in getting the speakers on the board, and all day in day out now, because this is a work which is going on, and every week one ends and the other starts. At the end of the day, I wish you a very happy Holi. Enjoy a safe Holi and a happy Holi, and be safe. Till the time next week we come around, I would request you to fill the for e-certificates will be available. The form we have already sent. You kindly fill up the forms. Those who have not been able to fill up, you can just send me. Ping me at 8727857116. I repeat, 8727857116, and we'll send you the form on your WhatsApp ID. You may just fill it up, and then you will be eligible for e-certificate. The recording of this session will be available in a day or two on our channel, YouTube channel, IHRDI, Inclusive Human Resource Development Initiative. So you can kindly go there and see the earlier recordings also on various diverse topics, and with a lot of very pertinent speakers, including the faculty from UNDP, UNEP, UNESCO, from Indonesia, Canada, from Thailand, and very eminent people, IS officers, IFS officers, PCS, vice chancellors, who are very well known into this country and abroad. They have spoken on various issues. So friends, thank you so much once again. Goodbye, sayonara, and be safe. Have a very colorful and a safe Holi. Thank you so much.